Well, good morning, Scherr. It's so wonderful to have you this morning. I'm super excited to have you back on the Rise and Thrive show, talking today about the magic of saying yes. Fantastic topic. I'm super excited to delve in. But before I delve in, I'd like to share with the audience a little bit about who you are and so that they can get more connected and related to you. So Kia and I met earlier this year. We actually share a common bond, not one that we are, certainly one that has been challenging for sure. We both had the experience of being on different ends of terrorism. Kia sadly lost her husband and 13-year-old daughter during the 2008 Mumbai terrorist attacks, and I myself was standing 15 feet from the first of two bombings at the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing. So we got introduced earlier this year, and it's just been such an amazing connection for me. You've taught me so much about forgiveness and peace, which we'll talk a little bit more about in the interview today, but you're just a fantastic, amazing woman in my eyes for sure. But for those of you out in the world, Kia is an inspirational speaker. She's the author of the Pocketbook of Peace. She's a meditation teacher. She's a resiliency coach, and she's now in the process of creating resiliency programs for businesses in the United Kingdom. So exciting. You also have a new book coming out in spring 2021 called Forgiveness is a Choice. You've been featured in a film. You've certainly got a lot of stuff going on, and really showcasing the work that you do and how you want to create your own legacy of teaching people the importance of forgiveness, peace, and love. So welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's wonderful to be back with you. It's always great to engage with you with your beautiful energy and exuberant spirit.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's delve in. So this topic, we were having a conversation offline, and I was like, what's new? What's exciting? And you're like, well, I kind of have this thing about the magic of saying yes. And I'm like, oh, the magic of saying yes. I've got chills actually as I say it out loud. So tell me, what is the magic of saying yes? What does that mean?
Well, if you look at the term magic, it's really about creating something that wasn't there before, and I think that by a simple choice to meet life right where it is, when you say yes to life, it opens doors. You say yes to life over and over and over again. And so for me, that was what I was faced with, either to shut down to life after the terrorist attacks that took the lives of my husband and daughter. There was at first I didn't want to come out, into the world for a while. And that was saying no to life. But I was still alive. And perhaps because every experience will contain something of value for us to learn. And it's that learning, that gold that we can find in it. But we have to say yes to it, even though in this case, it was a horrible experience. And it was not something I would wish upon anyone. And it was not something I can say, oh, I'm really happy that happened. No, but it did happen. So it's saying yes to the reality. I recognize this. Yes to life. What can you teach me? And then what can I share from that learning?
So, you also had mentioned in our offline conversation about, by saying yes, sometimes that means also saying no. Can you elaborate on what you mean by that?
Yes, because sometimes when we want to create appropriate boundaries, some boundaries are appropriate. And sometimes when we have self-respect and self-confidence in ourselves and we know who we are and we're aligned with that, anything that is going to take us off that alignment, we may want to say no to. And by saying no to that, if it takes us out of balance or out of our truth, is actually saying yes to ourselves. So a no in that sense is a yes. But there's a bigger yes when we've made that commitment to ourselves, to truth, to living with truth as a truthful expression of who we are, and to have the courage to be that in every moment. Just to have the courage to be it. It's saying yes to that truth. And that will sometimes mean saying no to a smaller truth.
So what it's fascinating. What comes up for me when you say that is, wow, having the courage to say no, which is really a bigger yes to my own truth, my own alignment. And what comes up for me is, does that mean I have to disappoint others?
Well, disappointing others. Well, we could say, is that your responsibility, first of all?
Great point.
For someone's disappointment. Maybe they're responsible, that's their experience for them. And it would be, I think that we could acknowledge a person's disappointment if it happens within a communication. I think that's important, to acknowledge the impact of maybe what our choice or decision would be. We might be a yes for us, but a no for them. But we could acknowledge the disappointment, and that's showing respect to them. So you're still saying yes to them as a person and yes to the relationship by acknowledging that, because it keeps the connections open, even though technically you said a no, but it didn't shut the door. It doesn't need to shut the door to the relationship.
So how do we apply the magic of saying yes in the midst of what we're dealing with here in the world, right? In particular, we both live in the United States. So, we're in the middle of the second wave of the coronavirus, and more lockdowns and more restrictions are being enforced again. And we're in the midst of this political upheaval. And we're in the midst of, an economic, frankly, a worldwide economic downturn as a result of the coronavirus. So, there's a lot of people out there that are terrified right now. And you and I both know what it's like to be terrified. And we both know what it's like to feel fear. So on a very deep level. And, in the early days after, losing Alan and Naomi in the terrorist attacks, saying yes to life probably wasn't easy for you. Is that true?
That's true. It was not.
So what wisdom can you provide to people that, although they, and let's be clear, we hope and pray that nobody has to live through a terrorist attack. And I think we are both committed that the work that we do in the world will hopefully prevent and eliminate that down the road for sure.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. You don't have to live through a terrorist attack to feel fear or feel terrified. Right now, people's livelihoods are at stake. People's, inability to communicate and see their families the way that they used to, or their friends or their business colleagues because they're working from home, not knowing whether or not they're going to have a job or business for that matter. So can you help? What words of wisdom would you give to those people?
I think there's a lot that is not under our direct control, and that we need to take a view on all of it. And what is within our control is our own state of balance, first of all, and so that we can be resilient to the various changes that are going to move us to and fro, and to stay balanced in our mental capacity and perspectives, in our emotions, certainly, and also our physical balance, very important right now, so that we can have strong immune systems. So we have to realize the reality of the virus out there. And even though there's a lot of information that what's true, what's not true, but rather than be ruled by fear, we know there's something there that's causing a lot of people to be sick, some people to die. And so we keep ourselves as strong as possible. And we make all those choices. That's saying yes to good health. So what can you say yes to? You say yes to good health. So what does that mean? And you create a balanced diet for yourself and do what you need to do to stay strong and healthy. And then to look at when we go out and about, there are going to be certain restrictions, but if we can flow with it and move with it, and that's the resiliency. So it may mean to keep from spreading it or contracting it, that we have to wear a mask in public, that we have to go with that until we have other information that proves that maybe we don't. But in the meantime, because there is that possibility, we just simply put it on and not cause ourselves undue stress and fears around it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain, we just look at the realities and make decisions about it that would be positive decisions for ourselves and our families. Mm-hmm. So that we continue to stay in touch with each other. It doesn't mean lock down everything in our lives. Mm-hmm. We get more creative about how we go about that.
Mm. You know, I'd actually like to talk about two different things. One is what is your daily routine for maintaining, a balanced life and keeping your immune system up? What do you typically do?
Well, first of all, I do make sure I get plenty of rest. I like to go to bed early. I wake up early. I like to spend some quiet time with myself, quiet time. And that's a way of saying yes to me and what's going on inside of me, so I can sort things out ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So if I have any inner confusions or conflicts and I'm noticing what's coming up, then I nurture myself in that way. Mm-hmm. So I spend that quiet time. I also like meditation and just simply diving into the ocean of stillness, because I find that balancing for myself. It balances my brain, and that has an effect on my emotional state and my physical state. So I do that every day. And I also take walks outside because to get fresh air and exercise. I walk whenever possible. Mm-hmm. I make it a point to get up at least every hour and walk around. I live in a meditation sanctuary right now. And so we're in the forest in Virginia. So I just walk all over the place every day. No matter the weather, it doesn't matter. So fresh air and exercise, and we have a fresh diet here. So we have fresh foods, and I don't even take a lot of supplements, to be honest. I mean, I think those things can be really helpful, but I think if you eat fresh foods, fresh vegetables, and if you're a meat eater, make sure they're fresh and not overly processed and full of a lot of stuff that can be harmful. But fresh foods and in moderation, that's basically it. So it's not such a difficult or complex thing to do. That's basically it. And I am aware of, I think something to be aware of that causes negative impact on us is judgments. Noticing our own judgments, because it's a no. It's just a no. It shuts things down. It shuts us down.
Yeah, and very good.
And to ask questions if we need to, but also to relinquish the judgment about it. We can have a disagreement without having a judgment. Mm-hmm. And it's learning discernment. I think discernment is an important point in resilience.
Yeah. I would agree with you. So how do people learn more about, I know you follow a particular meditation practice, and that there are various meditations available that you've used that have been super effective. And I think you're a lifelong meditation teacher. If I remember correctly, you went to study transcendental meditation as a teenager. And so your whole path, part of your cultivating resiliency is meditation. So how can people learn more about meditation, and particularly the meditation that you find to be most effective?
And there's just countless meditations out there right now. And I think whatever works for a person, because that's what they're going to do. I think it's important to realize that you don't have to join a group. You don't have to have beliefs. You don't have to have spiritual or religious practices or beliefs if you're not interested in any of that. If you are, there's plenty of teachers out there for that. I find there's beautiful meditation technology out there, and the synchronicity technology is easy. And it's just a matter of putting on headphones or earbuds and it's bringing the cave to you. We have a lot of extraneous noise out there right now. And all kinds of frequencies out there from various airwaves and things like that, in addition to whatever noise is in our environment. It makes it a lot easier just to settle down. A lot of people say, I can't possibly meditate. My mind will just go a mile a minute. And meditation is simply going in the opposite direction in the outside, and that's a way of creating balance. Our attention is directed to the outside all the time, most of the day. So even if taking 10 or 15 minutes for a balance break to settle in, sit comfortably, close your eyes in whatever position works. And even if just being with your breath settles you down, take some time to relax. But the technology does help, but I think that it makes it easy. So I'm all about simplifying things and making it easy, because it makes it easy just to continue and to get the benefit from it.
Fantastic. So people can learn more about the various meditations that are offered through the Synchronicity Foundation, which there are an abundance of them, and they even have samples. So you can actually listen to, a minute or so of the recording and see what resonates for you. I personally have used a wide variety of the meditations offered through the Synchronicity Foundation. And what I've personally experienced as somebody who also has been, studying meditation for years, not nearly as long as you, Kia. And I'm not a teacher of meditation, to be clear, but I am absolutely a student of meditation, and it is one of my daily practices. And I notice when I don't do it consistently, my productivity isn't the same, my level of clarity isn't the same, and my level of creativity is not the same. So for me, what I love about the technology that Synchronicity Foundation offers is a quick way to dive deep in through sound, in some cases music too. And for me, if I'm struggling in the middle of my day, I can put on a 10, 12-minute meditation, and boom, it's like going to Starbucks to get my caffeine intake,
Right.
and I'm not using the caffeine, right? It's amazing how it works. So there'll be more information where people can learn more about that. But it's great. So in the midst of this, you've been cultivating the magic of yes as a result of you being in this, semi-lockdown state during the COVID thing, and you've developed this resiliency program as a result of being in, in this environment, which is inspiring. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us, what was that like? Were you in a space of wanting to create newly? How did you cultivate this? And how can others start to cultivate new ideas for themselves, and how to emerge and rise up from these times, right? And be better human beings as a result of it.
Well, as a result of, I had lived here at the sanctuary for so long, and it was all about cultivating balance in our lives. And I knew that when I was in India, when I would sometimes feel lethargic and apathetic, sad, depressed, like I just didn't see what was the point of whatever, doing anything, or what could I possibly do, this little person, and what difference would it really make? And I would have those kinds of self-negative thoughts. I think most of us do at times. I just realized though, okay, I saw myself in resistance. I had enough awareness to see that. And I thought, well, what can I say yes to? I just to get through a day in some of the early days, what can I actually say yes to today? Even if it's okay, I'll say yes to my first cup of coffee. I'll say yes to going for a walk. I'll say yes to calling a friend, or I will say, just even little things like that. But what I saw is that one thing leads to another, because it is this, the reason I feel it's magical is because it's like a little key that opens up this whole one door, that you go into one door, but then there's another one and another one and another one, and you can keep going through, and they get bigger, and you see more colors and more experiences come out. But I would not have those experiences if I didn't say yes, just to kind of get out, and it draws other things in, and people begin to say yes to you, it becomes, we're all connected. We're so intimately connected with each other, so intimately connected. I would say yes is a connector. Agree?
Yeah.
It's a connector. If you say no, it's a shut off. Okay. But it's a connector. So the choice is, what do you want to be connected to? You want to be connected to that which is going to enliven, uplift, enrich, enhance all of these things in your life so that we can enjoy our lives. Yes to that. What do you want to say yes to? What are your most important yeses? I think it's great just to say it out loud. And I know that's what it was. I was on a walk and I started, we have I don't know this person personally, but she has a course called Yes to Success. And I just loved that title, Deborah Poneman.
Yeah.
Yes to Success. I said, I love that. And I said, okay, what else would I say yes to? And on my walk, I started doing this yes rant. Okay, yes to happiness, yes to a new home, yes to, everything I could possibly think of. And by the end of it, I was just pulsating with joy. I thought, oh my, and I think I talked to you shortly after that, and then I was sharing that with you. So when we decided, so I would encourage people, if you want to go a little bit crazy, I felt a little crazy, but I'm in the forest, no one else is around. Actually, I think saying things out loud is a powerful thing to do. And not to be ashamed or embarrassed about that. Nobody needs to hear you. The trees heard me. I don't think they care, swaying in the breeze. The birds, who cares? What do they care? This crazy woman saying yes to all this. It was a lot of fun. It was so liberating. It's liberating to do something out of the box once in a while, as simple as that. It doesn't have to be something so scary that, oh, it's going to take me years to build up to jumping out of that box. But, do your own yes rant, create a yes rant.
Love it. I'm going to do that today. I'm going to do a yes rant. I'm going to take my walk and I'm going to do a yes rant and just see what emerges, right?
Well,
what am I saying yes to? Like what, really, what a powerful question. What am I saying yes to in this moment?
Well, and I will tell you the magical results it has, because yes to success, it started with that. And so that was Deborah Poneman's thing. And I of course included yes to success, I'm going to say yes, success. Thank you, Deborah. And so it was very shortly after that a friend of mine from England called and said, I'd really like to speak to some of my business colleagues. Can you work up something? And what would you speak on? I said, how about building resilience? He said, yes, I love that. So he's saying yes to me, right? And he calls back and says, you know what? I think we can collaborate on something. We can start a business venture on that. We could create something out of this. So that's in process. But it all starts with saying yes. And because I hadn't heard from him in months, COVID's going on, and and every once in a while, oh, how's the family? Fine. You guys are okay? Yes. Every, little thing. But all of a sudden he calls me up and says, no.
I've come to understand that's a major synchronicity. And this is how synchronicity works, in my view, is that when we show up in life, and it starts with us showing up in life, life doesn't come to us. Life is not, I have come to understand that life is actually happening for our highest good. And
Yes.
when we say yes, or when we rise up to our best selves, life just becomes for me, it's been like a magic carpet ride. I would never have imagined, having gone through the most horrific experience of my life, that 4 years later, I would do something I never thought I would do, which is to run a marathon and actually complete it. And then from there, springboard into writing 3 books, producing 2 Mission for Good films that went on to win Emmy Awards, to then produce a Broadway show, to now creating my own film. Like that is the power of what you're saying and referring to as saying yes. I just kept saying yes to myself and my well-being in the beginning. And then people started showing up in my life, and all of these amazing new experiences and I often will say, can somebody pinch me? Am I in a dream? But that's what's possible. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't experience challenges. It doesn't mean we don't experience setbacks, because we do. It is life. Um, I still have moments where I'm sad. I still have moments where I get triggered. I still have moments where I experience fear, especially when I'm stepping out of the box into something new that I don't perceive myself as being able to do yet, but I want to, right? So to be clear, like, you can say yes to life in the face of fear. You can say yes to life in the face of feeling terror inside.
Exactly. And I recently, as we come into November, it's a volatile time for me. And I never know when a flood of emotions is going to come over me. But I've learned not to be afraid of those emotions. So in a way, it's not like, it's just being able to say yes to the experience and move with it, because and it means that I love, it's really, the other side of it is about love, that there was love there. And so therefore there's this grief and this sadness that's just maybe more that I hadn't processed before, because it was such a big violent thing that happened, and it just has to come out in pieces every year.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes over me, but I thought, okay, if I can move with this, it's going to settle down. So I have to allow it. So allowing that and moving with it as being a human, saying yes to our own humanity. I'm a human being. I'm a wife and a mother that lost people in, and every year that goes by, they're still not here. They're still not here. It doesn't get easier from that point of view. If anything, I miss them even more. I say yes to the family I have, the dear precious sons that I have. I can enjoy their company, and I just saw one of them last week. Saying yes to that and building up the relationships that I do have, and just saying yes to those things without letting it overcome me or keep me from saying yes to other aspects of my life. So a way of including it without pushing it away, but also without letting it dominate.
Mm-hmm. So what I also hear you saying is the importance of acknowledging what you do have as opposed to what you don't have, and
Exactly.
and that by doing so, you actually are saying yes to more of that as opposed to yes of more of what you don't want. So that really having, it's a really important distinction.
That's right. And that's how we co-create with life. We co-create with life in that way. What do I want? What can I say yes to? What can I release with love and gratitude? And what new experiences now are there for me that I can create and be a part of and learn from and enjoy and celebrate?
Fantastic, fantastic. So tell us a little bit about your resiliency programs that you're creating for business in the UK, and do you plan to bring it to the States and across
Yeah,
the world, actually?
absolutely. It's just a starting point there, because it'll start with a simple seminar and a talk, but there are 10 steps that I wrote out that I'll be developing to a little handbook, we could say, a little a resilience handbook that people can use. So we'll have points that are easy to follow for people to get them started.
Mm,
And obviously each one of them could go much deeper into these things. So that'll be further along the line, but to develop an online program that we'll be testing out there. But then as we develop that, it could be offered in many different sectors, business, and I'd love to work with hospital staffs, because they're particularly stressed right now, and maybe for another couple of years, and police departments and other education systems. So wherever that people would find value for that. So probably on the Synchronicity platform at some point, I'll offer a online program for resilience, but this will be the testing point, because I happen to have a friend who wanted to co-create that with me. So great opportunity. I'm saying yes to that. So we'll see what comes out of it.
fantastic, fantastic. We could go on and on and on, you and I. But as we wrap up here today, what last words of wisdom do you want to leave for the participants listening?
I think that what comes to my mind that we haven't brought up yet is love. Loving the largest sense in terms of love for life, when you say yes to life, it's loving life. So you're saying yes to love in all its forms. And there are many, many, many aspects and forms of love, and not to limit ourselves to just one of them or to one person or context. It's a kaleidoscope. So to open up to the full spectrum of love is the biggest yes we could possibly say.
In a time where there's so much division in our country, and there are unfortunately hate crimes going on, and many forms of terrorism going on in the form of riots and stuff like that in our cities, saying yes to love and taking the time to acknowledge what we love about ourselves and the people in our lives, and to express more of that.
Yes.
You'll cultivate more of that in your life. And I think that I've come to understand that when we are the ripple in a pond, right? It doesn't matter how big or small your community is. It starts with you. So if you choose to want to experience more love in your life, then it starts with you loving self and others and expressing that, openly and honestly and often. And as a result, you become more beautiful and attractive, is my experience. And you attract more love into your life.
I agree. That's right.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Kia. I can't wait until you create more stuff so I can have you back on and share some amazing things. When you've got your resiliency program ready to go, I'd love to have you back, and you could talk about that and how people could get involved, because I think it's, building resiliency, whether it's personally or in business, is so important. And frankly, it's timeless. It doesn't matter whether you're going through what we're going through, or recession, or any sort of challenging time. Cultivating resiliency is an important piece of the puzzle.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.